I want to talk about this. I've been curious. I've been talking to Jason about this a bit. Like the selling original cover art. It seems like you're kind of like if you do a Batman cover, you sell it for what, like 5,000?
Yeah, around 5. Yeah.
Do you think you can get more than that?
If the piece is particularly iconic, there's a specific amount of details and stuff like that, I could get more money. Like so far, I think the most expensive one for me was for a cover.
This is the Inkpulp podcast.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. Schnell. Mach schnell.
Oh no. There's like some
I'm Nazi Santa.
You're scaring me.
How are you, brother?
Good. How you doing, brother?
I'm hanging in
How are
there.
things?
I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm tired too.
I'm
What
really
is
tired.
that?
I need a. No, it's just the daily routine that never ends. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
like normally I would find the time to stop for a second, like a week, to stop for a second,
Yeah.
and I'm not being able to. I haven't been able to find it.
Is that because
over
you
the
have a
past
child
months.
now? Is that because you have a child now?
No. I think it's just a coincidence of, just I'm working on my project and then I have other stuff lined up. So now I'm in that mood. We talked about it recently. I'm in that mood where I see stuff on the horizon.
Oh, it's
So,
stressing you out.
Yeah, I want to, that put some more how do you call it, urgency
Right.
on my
Pressure.
work. So yeah, more pressure. So now
Right.
it's positive because I'm almost at page 20 of issue number 4 of my
shit.
book. So
Nice.
I'm at page 18. I'll be doing like a page a day, sometimes even more. So I'm just doing the stuff,
It looks
good.
great. Everything I've seen looks great.
Thanks, man. Thanks. By the way, I'm fucking annoyed. I don't know if this is what I wanted to ask you. I've been wanting to ask you about this for a while. So we both use, I don't know if you still use Strathmore 500, the balloon paper. All right.
Yeah.
Does it happen to you that some pads, like the paper is fucked? Did it ever happen to you?
I've heard this from a lot of people. What are you experiencing with it? Like what's happening?
Basically I have, because the way I work is once I find a tool that I like, whether it's paper or an ink or something, and it's official, this is what I'm gonna use, I buy like a ton of that stuff.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
So every time I have a show, or sometimes I even order online on Dick Black. But every time I have a show, I either ask you or Jason to buy like a bunch of pads, because otherwise ordering online with the weight and everything, I'm going to spend like a ton of money just for shipping. And sometimes they arrive like the pads are ruined.
Oh, beat up.
So yeah, they're beat up on the corners because God knows what the fuck they did with it, with the package. So basically, I have like right now, I have, let's say 15 to 20 pads, 11 by 14. And I have like 6 or 7, 11 by 17. And the 11 by 14, I use them for the pages that I'm doing on my project. But in there's a batch of them, and I can't recognize them anymore because they're mixed up with the new pads. There's a batch that was completely fucked, and I can't recognize them anymore because
but when you say
they were placed. Yeah.
Right. When you say they're completely fucked, what does that mean? Like what
So
what
the
do you
paper,
feel? Yeah.
The paper absorbs ink in a different way. More like, do you know the blank covers?
Yes.
Have you ever
yes.
tried
Oh, yeah.
inking not just with pure ink, but when there's water in the ink?
Nah,
You
no,
don't do
not
that. All
really.
right.
Oh, no,
So
no, I
basic-
have. I did. There was a period where I was experimenting. Yes, I remember doing a
Okay.
Deadpool
So
drawing.
do you
Yeah.
see that effect where
Yeah.
they're super absorbent? So they
Yes,
absorb
yes.
everything immediately.
Yes.
And it goes far away in the back. Like, let's think of the paper as a series of layers,
Right,
If
right.
you look at in a microscope, probably the paper as layers, it goes immediately far away. So
Right.
even the blacks, they never, in order to obtain like a full black, you gotta take like 3 steps or at
Right.
least 2 steps or 3 steps
Right.
of black in order to attain the full black
Yes.
because it goes so far away in the page on the paper.
I have heard this from a lot of people. The thing is, with my work on Strathmore, I use a very thick ink and it's
Yeah.
mostly dry brush. So even when I do a heavy black area, the ink is so thick that if I have a bad batch, I'm not going to notice it because it's not going to be able to suck it down as fast.
Yeah. Instead,
So-
with me, even when I use first I use Speedball, which is already a pretty thin.
Right. It's very
ink.
thin. Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, like generally speaking, I keep washing my brush, so there's always
Water.
water in my brush.
Yeah.
So there's always water in my ink. So and I immediately recognize it because when even the black, it's never black; it's a dark gray,
Right.
And
right.
And also I recognize it because if I turn the sheet, I can see like a kind of spot on the back of the paper.
Because it went through so many layers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So there's
shit.
something fucked up with the first layers of the paper.
Yeah.
And it absorbs too much. So I don't know what the fuck is happening with that. And I can't, the problem is that I can't recognize the bad batches from the right ones because they're all mixed up in my drawers. So
can you see immediately if you put a wet brush on the paper? Can you see immediately if it's a bad batch?
Yeah.
So why don't you just on the first page of each pad just do a brush mark, and then on the cover just write shit or something. So you know.
Yeah, no. The problem is that,
do you want to keep this shitty paper? Why don't you just toss it?
Well, no. The problem was that I've already started my, the first chapter of my book. The fourth chapter of my book. And the way I work in steps. So all the pages are already prepared.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So,
okay.
I don't know. I mean, I can just do the test on the back of the paper. I think, I mean, it's 2 plies. So I think that the thing that happens in the front happens in the back as well, I suppose.
I would imagine. Yeah. So it's interesting you're saying this because I remember there used to be the Strathmore illustration board that artists loved for watercolor. Jill Thompson and I spoke about this because it happened all of a sudden where we all got new sheets of that board and the watercolor just wasn't working with the paper like it used to at all. And so Jill went on a deep dive. She contacted Strathmore and found out they changed the, board and Bristol board. They're layers. Yeah. And there's something between the layers to hold the layers together. The chemical they use to hold them. Yeah. Well, that's what they used to use.
That's when things worked, right?
So in order to fix it, come all over your board, wipe it in, and then let it dry, and you'll be fine. But she said she found out that they used a cheaper chemical, and it changed everything, and they will not go back. So I don't know. Maybe someone used the wrong chemical on the Bristol board, and there's a bad batch put in. I don't know. But again,
anyway, for my fourth book, I just realized because what I'm doing now, I'm doing the inks and then I wait sometimes when I have extra time. I do the gray tones. So a few days ago, I started doing it on page 1. I realized, oh fuck, that's the bad batch. And
is everything penciled already?
Oh no, it's synced. Like the line work is I've done 18 pages.
Oh, and you can't see it when you do the line work. It's just when you do the wash.
No, it's right. You can kind of feel it, but you gotta pay attention. You know.
So let me ask you this: on the bad pages, are you able to get it done and it looks okay, or is it just hopeless?
Oh yeah. It already happened with some of the pages from the last issue. So and from issue number 2. So and already amongst those 18 pages, since a pad is 15 pages,
right?
Probably at a certain point, maybe 10 pages in, I'll start to have the good batch. But God knows, you know. So
it's
and every time I
just
forget to do the test. So I should, you know, what a thing that I should do when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'll have to start testing.
Right.
But I don't. I always forget. So
yeah,
it is what it is, and yeah.
So it basically just makes your work harder, but in the end, it looks okay.
Yeah. There's actually, like with the gray tones, there's actually some cool things that you can obtain with that. Okay. So it's not all shit, you know. Since I've been dealing with this fucking bad batch, it's probably one of the times when I bought a lot of them. Like I remember one time I bought like 15 of them. So that's probably most of them are in that bad batch. So I'm slowly getting rid of them, but I don't know how many there are remaining. Maybe this is the last one. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. So were these the pads I got you that I just gave you in New York? You don't know?
I don't think so. Okay. And even if I knew, like, they're mixed. So I just put them all together in a drawer. So I don't know what's what, you know? So it's, I mean, who knows? But
have you thought about using watercolor paper? Because like I've switched. Like I love inking on watercolor paper. It's fucking like arches. Like
the problem is that you use a lot of dry brush, which works really well on that. Yeah. Like arch. I tried it for watercolor and it's great, but it's too rough. Like I think that Strathmore 500 was the perfect balance between rough and smooth. And I really like the texture of the paper.
You're right. It is too rough because like if I did a whole comic on arches, it wouldn't look as good as if I did it on Strathmore because the lines would be much more grayed out. There'd be a lot more dry brush. But I'm just speaking in terms of washes because I started doing my paintings, my acrylic paintings on it. So like when I do my value washes, like the grayscale stuff, that thing's a dream. Like because it stays wet, unlike the Bristol board, which kind of dries fast. The arches gives you more working time, which is nice.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought about. Yeah.
But did you try the arches, the smooth surface? Because even the smooth surface has a little tooth to it. It's not like smooth Bristol board. It looks smooth, but when you touch it, you feel it kind of feels like there's sand on top of it a little bit.
Gotcha. I should try. Well, I mean, now I might like these pads to get rid of. Yeah. So. But yeah. But I'm sure again, if you start looking, there's probably at least 20 different kind of papers that are even better than the ones that we use. You know, it's just the Strathmore is what we know. We've always been using it.
Dude,
and so
the Strathmore 500 is when it's good, it's the best. It really like for inking, it's the best. There's nothing
and especially
like
the mixed media one. So it's basically the same. It's 500, the Surface 500, but it's thick. It's like 400 grams or something.
Right. I have that.
That's great. Yeah, the problem is that one, they don't make it the size that we need. Like they don't make the 11 by 14, for example.
Yeah, they do.
Oh no, they don't make the 11 by 17.
No, they do make the 11 by 14 though.
11 by 14 they do. Yeah. But to me, like for that kind of thickness, I would need it for covers when I have to paint.
Right.
Therefore, I need an 11 by 17, so I'm fucked. I don't need that kind of thickness for interior
which
pages.
is So I started buying arches. Well, actually, you can buy big sheets of it and trim it down to 11 by 17, which is what I do.
That could be another.
But so I've been doing my Marvel snap cards on the mixed media Strathmore, and I've been doing my covers on the Arches watercolor paper. Yeah. It allows me to because there's something I like about both, and it allows me to kind of do both. I think the mixed media is a little harder to work on when you're working really wet, because it's locks it in so fast, whereas the Arches lets you move it around more. But when it comes to the opaque, the thick paint, the mixed media paper is better, because the tooth on the Arches makes it harder. You got to keep building it up so you don't see the texture.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I'm working on a cover right now. I took a little break from my book. And I decided to paint it in the end, so I'm painting it.
Oh, awesome! What cover? Can you say what cover?
It's I cannot say the title because it's a new thing, but it's Fantastic Four related.
Ooh!
And basically, what they ask is just an iconic cover, an iconic Fantastic Four cover.
That's awesome.
So I was like, how about the outfits? Traditional ones? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. You can use the traditional, the old ones.
Awesome.
So yeah. So I'm painting it, and the idea that I have in mind, it involves a lot of acrylic.
Okay.
But fuck, man, it's so I'm so used to work with wet stuff, with wet paint.
Yeah.
And acrylic takes so much time, especially if you're not an expert. Like I saw some expert like Simone Bianchi. He's a master of acrylic, so he knows he has his method, planned out, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
If you don't know, it's so fucking slow, man. And it's just finding the right colors, and especially, I mean, I have a good bunch of colors, but not. Probably it's not even.
Well, let me ask you this:
of what he has, for example.
Right. I mean, Simone is like a wizard with. I mean, he's amazing. But I started doing my studies, like how you do your thumbnails, like your bigger cover thumbnails. I started just adding color to that so I could pick my palette, and if like something doesn't work there, I can see it, and then I just adjust it on the final.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
But I wasn't talking about the color. The colors are already decided because I did my sketch with colors and also it's really simple. Like I'll show you when I finish it. It's really simple. So I didn't need to do that much studying on the palette. But the problem is that just using the acrylic, it's so. You have to use it so dense, and it's
what kind of acrylics are you using? Are you using the airbrush acrylics?
No, the solid ones. The
the tube, out of the tube. Oh yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy bodied acrylics. You might do better with fluid acrylics. They're
no. I know what you mean. I have them, but for this one. The thing the way I decided to work, I need the solid ones.
You want the thick paint.
Yeah, I want the thick paint. And but it's and plus I don't have the method locked down, meaning
I don't know how to do that.
Know, should I start, because my impression is that I should start with the lighter colors and then go, but God knows.
I don't know.
I'm basically dancing between steps, and then I realize, oh fuck, I did the steps first, and this one is gonna nullify the steps, so I gotta go back with it's a nightmare. I mean, it's a nightmare in terms of process. I'm realizing as I'm doing it, I'm realizing how much time how much extra time is taking. Like probably with the same clarity of ideas, like a person who knows who's been using acrylic for a while, like it will take them exactly like a day of work, and to me it's gonna be like 2 days, probably maybe 2.5 days. Because it's I'm wasting so much time on minutia.
But I mean, it's not a waste. It's teaching you how to use this. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it. Like when I watch Simone paint, I just want to ask him like everything, like how, why, like because my painting process is it's nothing like that, and I don't know how to paint that way. I want to take a class in like alla prima, and that's way of painting, so I can understand it better.
Well, I think that right now I still have to fight against is the fear, because again, it's a heavy body acrylic, so they cover completely what's underneath. And this reminds me of the conversation we had with Dave Johnson a few weeks ago. My thing is so design based. Like sometimes like I found that perfect line that I love, and then going over it, I fear that I'll never be able to find it again. So I'm so scared of it. So I don't know. Sometimes I start doing, okay, let's do lines first, and then I go around it with the color. But then being a heavy body acrylic, it's not that easy to, it's sometimes it gets dry and it's fucking, it's a fight.
Are you using any mediums with the acrylic?
What do you mean by medium?
Like they have mediums that will make it thinner. Like they have mediums that'll make it dry slower. They have it's like, so in acrylic you have your pigment and then you have the like body of the acrylic. So the mediums are different versions of the body of the acrylic you can add to it. You can make it more textural. You can make it thinner. Like you can make the pigment thinner, but the paint is thicker. Like the gel medium that Jonathan Glapion uses. It thins out the pigment, but not the paint. So you can control it a little better. Makes it a little more transparent. I mean, there's all kinds of mediums.
No, it's too early for me. Like I still wanna get used to working the standard way, and then I'll see what happens from there. But and also I'm like genuinely like the intent with this piece is working like purely like solid and develop a method with that.
So you're working a la prima. I have no idea how to do that.
It's a lot. It's taking me a lot of time, a lot longer than it would have taken me if I relied on my old tricks.
When you decided to go this route, did you not anticipate that it was going to take longer because you hadn't done it before?
Oh yeah. I know. I knew.
Okay.
I knew. But it's a painful process. But I want to try and get through it instead of just avoiding it. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with what I have so far, which is not a lot, but I'm happy so far. But I still have
pictures.
To go through.
I really want to see this. I'm very excited to see it. And afterwards, I need to talk to you. I wanted to, because you and I have talked about your DC cover rate, and I just got some DC covers. So, and the rate was like, ouch.
Like, oh really?
It was half of what I've been getting everywhere else.
Do you want to tell me and we'll blip it out?
Yeah, Jamie, bleep this out. It's full color.
Full color. Okay.
Yeah. What's your rate? No.
Pencils and inks, it's right now, and it's low. It's a low how do you say, a low rate. I should make it higher. But it's like for pencils and inks, and if I color it full color is please Jamie blip that out.
See, which
I know that it's not, and even mine it's not a lot, especially
Yeah.
because Jamie's
I'd be
blipped this one too, especially because my interiors, I asked for. So,
Mhm.
you know.
Are you doing interiors for DC?
Well,
you're doing. Oh, right, you're doing the Batman thing. That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
with that one, they decided for a flat fee for everyone.
Oh, okay.
Which is slightly lower than my normal rate.
Are you doing other interiors, or you're talking about when you did like your last Batman?
Yeah, when
stuff?
I did, like the Mr. Freeze book or
Right,
whatever.
and
I mean, it's my paid rate at
Right.
at DC.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was like, the covers they gave me. Well, one of them is so huge. I was like, this will be worth it because the original is going to sell really well.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I do with covers as well. That's why I never. I mean, I was really happy with the raise that they gave me for interiors.
Yeah.
And therefore, first of all, I didn't want to push it with covers as well.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like most of the times, like the covers that they asked me to do, they're like Batman stuff. Like the last one was Batman and Robin, year one.
Right.
By the way, amazing book. And
I got to get that. I haven't been to the store. I'm dying to get that.
So yeah, it's I can give up a few $100 on my cover rate.
Sure.
Because I know that I'm gonna make it up when
exactly. And also
sell the original.
The one of the covers they offered me is like one of their biggest selling books ever. So it's going to put me on the shelf on that book, which is going to get me more cover work. So I was like, all right, I'll take it.
That's awesome, man. When did that happen? Recently?
Well, at New York, I spoke to, I'll just say it. I spoke to Nick Dragata at New York because we're old friends. We were in Savannah together, and he said he was going to request for me to do a cover on Absolute Batman. So I was like, all right, cool.
That's awesome, man.
So, and then I said, who's your editor? And he said, Katie Kubert, who I've worked with a lot. So Katie emailed me and she gave me that. And then she offered me 2 more covers. And I was like, I'll take one of them because the other one was like due in 2 weeks. I was like, I got deadlines I'm under. I can't take that, but I'll take the other 2 and we'll go from there. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, going back to the acrylic, the use of acrylic.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to Brian Stillfreeze in Abu Dhabi, and he suggested me, maybe I already talked about it, but he suggested, since one of my main problems is that I don't have a huge range of colors in my house, so every time I have to create colors most of the times. And the problem with acrylics is that they get dry real fast. So sometimes you prepare a color, but you didn't do enough. Right. And then it's not enough to, to finish the thing that you were doing. Right. So you have to recreate the color. It's a whole fucking nightmare. And he told me there's this cool thing, which is not cheap, but if it works the way he told me it works, it's pretty cool. It's the Stay Wet palette.
Okay,
have you never heard of it?
Okay. No, I've heard of it. I've heard Brian talk on it.
Oh, okay. So it's basically for the audience. It's basically, he described it accurately. I don't have the full description of it, but basically it's a palette, but it has a system so it stays wet. So sometimes, and you can close it, and sometimes
I've seen Brian's.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So
but describe it for the people.
Yeah, sometimes you open it up the next day, even if you're using acrylics, and the paint is still wet. It keeps your paint wet, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm debating internally if I should buy it or not. It's not cheap. I think it's like 150 or something. So
yeah, but that's worth it. See, I went the other route. Like every time I get a cover, I go to the art store.
I say no, and that's it. You went the other way.
and I get myself some new tubes. So I have a lot of colors to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I should do. Especially the problem is that I don't paint enough, because when you start painting enough, you
Mm-hmm.
realize what colors you need. Otherwise,
Yeah, and
you're
that's
just picking
what happened.
colors because that's what I do. I
Right,
have a bunch of them, but I was
right,
like, this one looks cool. I'll buy this
right,
one. And
right,
but it's only when you start
Y-
using them that you realize, fuck, I don't need this color at all,
right.
because
Because
I
once
already
you
have this
place
and this, and yeah.
right, and when you place it, like there's like you can pick up a tube of paint and be like, this doesn't look that vibrant. But then you put it down next to another color and you're like, oh my God, that color is amazing. You just can't
Mm-hmm.
tell. That's why I bought so many, and I buy little tubes. And when it's a color I really like, then I buy a big tube.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
There's,
yeah.
for example, there's a tone that I usually use for skin,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what the tone is, and it's really unless the skin is really light, and then you use
Mm-hmm.
the orange with a touch of white, and
Yeah.
and you balance it out with magenta and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, there's this color that I use, which is basically a pinkish gray.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a gray, almost a neutral color.
Okay.
And in order to create that color,
Oh, you
it takes me
create the color.
sometimes. Well, yeah, because I don't have it. I don't
Oh.
know. I don't know to find it. I never found that color.
Mm-hmm.
That color that is in my head every time I have to do a
Hmm.
specific thing. And so every time I have to recreate it, and it's not easy because it's a gray tone. So
Right.
it's really a matter of a tiny bit of red, and then you put a tiny bit of yellow, and it changes entirely. And not only that, being a gray, that the gray has this weird behavior when you paint, which is depending on what you put it next to, it
Mm-hmm.
will change.
Yeah,
So in
yeah.
general, a gray, if you put it next to a red, it will become greenish,
Right, right.
So so sometimes you prepare it here and on the palette, it looks good, and then you put it on paper and it doesn't work anymore. So it's messy.
So the acrylic, the opaque paint I use is made by Holbein, and it's called Acrylic
Mhm.
Gouache. So it's a matte opaque paint, but it dries waterproof. So it's got an acrylic body, but it acts like gouache until it's dry. They have
So it's meaning, since it's gouache, you mix it. If you put another color on top of it, they start mixing up, right?
no, that's what I'm saying is when it dries, it doesn't. It's acrylic, but it looks like gouache because it's a matte finish and it's opaque. So it looks like gouache.
It's a hard body.
Yeah, it's a tube. It's in a tube. Now, they have a line in the acrylic gouache called the Ash series, and it's exactly what you're describing. They're neutrals. There's ash blue, ash red, ash yellow, and ash green. And they're neutrals. And what you're describing sounds to me like you could make it much easier with ash red and ash yellow and maybe a little bit of white, and you would make it easier. But those colors look grayish and brownish, but then when you put them down and they're next to a color like ash blue, which looks to me like gray, but when I put it down in the right spot, it looks like this really neutral blue. It's really pretty. And ash rose is gorgeous. They're nice. I'm not good with using neutrals, but they're teaching me how to use them a little better.
Yeah. Well,
but they're opaque.
That's what I'm dealing with. They're opaque.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you put it over lines, you're not going to see the lines anymore.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So that was our nerdy art supply talk for the show.
Yeah. Speaking of nerds,
Yes.
we're still waiting for. We're making plans for our next year in terms of shows. We're still waiting to hear back from Chicago. C2E2.
Yeah.
We were discussing this a few days ago.
It seems like it's a little late. Like I think it feels like they should have let us know by now, right?
Yeah,
Like
we
I'm
should
trying to
contact
think.
Jason and see
Yeah, I was going to
what's
text
going
him
on with
today
that.
because I saw they announced Rod, and he's with Essential Sequential. So, maybe Rod is like an invited guest. Maybe
Yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah. Well, but still, they should reply. Even if they don't accept your request, they should tell you we didn't accept your request, or you don't receive an answer at all.
I haven't received an answer. No. They'll tell you didn't get a
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, you know how like sometimes they have special guests where you don't fill out an application. They just say,
yeah.
"Hey,
Yeah.
we want." I think maybe that's the case with Rod. I'm going to ask Jason, see what's up.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Jason, I'm talking to him in regards to another show, which is what's the name? I wrote it here. Where is it?
Oh, the Dallas
Collectors Summit. Yeah, Collectors Summit.
Yeah.
March 22nd, 23rd in Dallas. It's basically Heritage, the collector's brand.
Right.
They're building up a show. No, they already did. I think they did the show last year.
Okay.
And so they're doing this 2-day show, mainly just, it's just artists and collectors, like this new formula that is spreading that we talked about. We've been talking about this kind of formula for a while.
Yeah.
So they're doing this show, and they want to invite me, so we're talking about this thing.
Well, dude, let me
being there.
Let me throw this out there, because that's the same weekend I'm going to be in Kansas City for PlanetCon, visiting Jim and doing the convention. If you can, after Dallas, stop in Kansas City on the way home for a night or two. We can all hang in Kansas City.
I have, it's the usual thing.
I know.
It's with family and everything, but the show being only 2 days might be possible. Maybe.
Just throwing it out there.
So basically after the show. So maybe a Monday and a Tuesday.
Or before. Yeah, or before. Whichever works for you.
All right. I'll see what I can do. Maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah, it's Jim's 50th birthday this year, so I'm trying to see him a little more, celebrate. But that would be fun. So, do you know who else is going to that show? Like, I don't know anything about that show. I mean, I get the idea of it, but I've never heard anyone.
No, I think again they're using this formula that lately OAX, Como, and Heroes Con before them, but Heroes. I consider it more a mix between because of its size. Like Heroes is a big show,
and Heroes is books and art, whereas like OAX and Coma are just art.
Yeah. So and I think I think it's a good thing that we're there's just kind of new shows that are starting to pop up. Yeah, because it's the standard convention scene is getting a little messy, and in like 30 minutes we'll have Jesse Hernandez from Urban Aztec talking to us, and he's one of those guys who's being damaged by these shows lately.
It's insane.
Like, he's not able to get a table, and he's a really successful artist, and he does really cool shit.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that for sure, because that's insane. I also, speaking of guests, I want to ask. I'll talk to you about it after the show. I don't want to say it on there, but after the show, I got some people I want to ask on the show. I want to make sure you're cool with it, but I think there'd be a good conversation about conventions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is anyone else from Essential going to the Heritage show that you know of? I
think so. He didn't tell me, but I think so. I don't think
I would guess
only one.
Yeah, I would guess Finch will probably be there.
Yeah, maybe Klaus or maybe Art Adams.
Oh, dude. So I showed you and Jim the rough draft of my new art book I'm putting together. Guess who's going to do my intro? He agreed.
Donald Trump.
Yep.
Awesome, man.
No, Klaus is gonna write my intro.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I know. You know what? I saw that you prepare the.
That
when
was just
when he
us.
showed me the draft.
Yeah,
there
that was like
his name in there.
My hope. Yeah, my hope was like, let's just put it in there and see how it looks. And
that's
awesome,
he
said
man.
he'd do it. Yeah, so I'm pumped on that. So
aren't they publishing something in France of his?
Yeah, they did.
It's already out.
Well, they did. He had a show. Like there was a gallery in France that did a show that was all about the art of Klaus, and they put together a book for the show. And did they ask you for a quote? They asked me for a quote for the book.
They asked me, and then between work and family commitments, I completely forgot. Okay. That's the only honest answer I can give. I'm really sorry, Klaus. I know you're listening to us every week. I didn't mean to. I was happy to do that. I even had a couple of jokes. Like I had the structure of what I wanted to write, and it was something even original. So, but I completely fucked up with that. I'm sorry.
I wrote something nice. Ran it by Jason, ran it by Mo, ran it by Jim, and I could talk to Klaus about it. I'll see him at OAX. That's awesome. Yeah, so they just emailed me. They're mailing me a copy of the book, so I can't wait to see that. Yeah, so
awesome. And speaking of Essential, shout out to all the people that use the offer. I mean, by now, when this episode's out, it's probably over because it ends.
I don't know. No, I don't.
December 26th.
I think this episode will be out right before it ends. I think.
You sure?
I think so. I can tell you. Talk for a second, and I'll pull up the date when this comes out.
Anyway, I'll keep talking about this thing, and it's gonna end on December 26th, or it's already over. So it ended December 26th, depending on when this episode comes out, and we released the usual holidays special discount code on Essential Sequential. And I sold a lot of stuff. Like there were days when almost every hour somebody would buy stuff. Yeah. I sold more than 40 pieces.
Whoa.
Yeah. Granted, some of them were just my preliminaries plus with a 20% discount. So some of them were really cheap pieces, but some of them were covers. So
that's great. How many covers did you sell? I sold 2 paintings. Like I sold a big one. That was
awesome, man.
It was really good. Yeah. This will come out after the sale. I looked.
Oh yeah. And I sold like 4 covers.
Nice.
And to be honest with you, I'm surprised that I haven't sold the Harley and Joker painting that I did.
I'm surprised too. I saw that.
I was expecting to sell it in New York, and it's not selling. I posted it again on my social media, but nope.
Can you say how much it's priced at?
It's not something crazy. It's like $3,500.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, it's even cheaper than my normal covers.
And
like
it's on
normally
sale?
My covers.
It's on sale on top of
sale. Yeah.
Wow.
But,
guys.
No interests towards that piece. I don't know.
You know what?
Don't know why.
I wonder if the movie was so bad nobody wants to buy Joker Harley art right now.
Oh shit! Maybe the movie did me a disservice. But I showed the original like way before the movie was out.
Yeah,
so
it's a beautiful
not even
painting.
The movie's fault.
It's a great painting.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it, and it's weird that nobody's buying it. But
so
whatever.
it's 20% off of 3,500.
I gotta check. Maybe it's 4,000, maybe it's 3,500,
but still,
it's in that realm. It's
that's
way lower than 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
actually, I want to talk about this. I've been talking to Jason about this a bit, like the selling original cover art. It seems like you're kind of like, if you do a Batman cover, you sell it for what, like 5,000?
Yeah, around 5. Yeah.
And it seems like with the market, like, do you think you can get more than that?
I might, depending. Let's say if the piece is particularly iconic, there's a specific amount of details and stuff like that. It could get more. I could get more money from it potentially. It depends on many factors. Like so far, I think the most expensive one for me was 10 grand for a cover. That's the best I did.
What cover was that?
It was the Mr. Freeze cover.
Okay. But
it was a specific reason. It's because there were, I think, a few collectors that were interested in buying the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So in order for me to break up the cover from the interiors, then we ended up basically selling individual pages. But in order for not to break the two things, we told the guy was really interested. So we told him this is going to be the price because because of this reason. But yeah, that was probably the most expensive piece of art that I've ever sold.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally it's, I would say 5-6 grand.
Yeah.
And yeah. But again, I was really, really happy. I think that Jason is doing, that's why I wanted to have him on.
Yeah, we'll get
when
Jason
we have a
on.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious to pick his brain to see what he's doing in terms of marketing, because things have changed lately. And I think is getting better at
I think
stuff.
From what I've talked to Jason a little bit and Mo, it seems like since he hired Mo to handle this stuff, it allows Jason to focus more on the stuff you're talking about, put his energy into marketing and selling better. And I think because he has someone taking care of the other stuff now, he can do a better job at it, is my guess. But we'll get him on. We'll talk about it. Yeah,
absolutely. So you told me before we record that you wanted to talk about, in general, the podcast.
Yeah, and you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I quit. No, I'm kidding. No, I had an idea. In order to make things a little bit more interactive with our audience, I was thinking, and I wanted to see what you think of this idea.
Okay.
How about we create an email address for the podcast where people can write either questions, or whatever, or they want to suggest topics, or they want to suggest books that we can read, and then we talk about that specific book.
Okay.
Or if they want to suggest a specific artist or someone as a guest, or if we know the guests enough in advance, we can tell the audience so they can prepare some questions for the guest.
Okay. Well, let me ask you. I love the idea. This is a great idea. There's a few different ways we can go about this. We can do it as an email, or do you have like my website? This is my hope when I built my website.
Talking
is
about the message board, right? Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't have the message board.
No. I have a blog that I was going to use as a message board. So we could do a blog. I could do blog posts every week for what's coming up, and people can talk about the show there and can put their questions there, and you and I can interact over there. Or the third thing is, and people have been asking for this. I don't know. This just sounds like a lot of work. Starting our own Discord channel.
Okay, so what's Discord exactly?
So Discord is an app. It's basically like a message board app, where you create a room, and you can have little rooms in your room. So if we make Inkpulp podcast room, we could have a room for each episode, and people can leave questions there. They can do this and that. You and I can respond. But someone invited me onto Discord, and because they started a private channel for artists to talk about like art supplies and stuff and techniques. And I went on there and I was like, this app is a fucking nightmare to navigate. It's so confusing, but everyone uses it. It's very popular. So it's the type of thing where like, if we used it, we'd get used to it. But I also remember like the whole idea of what we're doing is we're trying to get people to our website, not onto another app. So that's why I was saying the message board thing. But I'm open to any of them. I think it's a great idea. We should do something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can even ask the audience, like if they have like people that, first of all, if it's something that you find interesting, and second of all, what would be the method? What do you guys think would be the method that you?
The thing about email that might be a problem is it doesn't allow others to see what was asked. So like, let's say we're like, hey, we got, Frank Miller coming on, and someone emails us, I want to know about like this page in Sin City. And then we could get five other emails of the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, obviously we make a selection of a specific, of what we want to, which emails we value, So if we have Frank Miller, for example, the example that you made, we have Frank Miller a month from now. So whoever has questions, so they email the questions, and then we have a section as we're doing, the interview to Frank Miller. We have like a 5 to 10 minute section with our audience's questions. So on that page, what were you thinking? Were you jerking off as you were doing this page or not?
Right. But the problem with with the emails, let me explain it better. The problem I see is like, let's say we have 3 episodes coming up, and people are emailing us questions for each episode. Now we've got like 50 emails for 3 different episodes. It might be hard to keep track of. Whereas if we had like one board on my website for this episode, one for this episode, one for this episode, when we're doing that episode, we can just open that board, have it on our screen, and be like, oh, let's ask that question now. And it would be easier to navigate.
Do you think it's going to be like 50 emails or more like 5 or 6?
I think it's going to be 500. Well, if we had Frank Miller,
maybe 500, but 490 of them are going to be just stupid shit.
That's true. Yeah. All right. Let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
Let's hear what you guys leave it in the comments, what you think would be good.
Because we had that thing with Black Science. We had an email where you could send questions, and we will publish those questions in the next issues.
Yeah.
So on the floppies, on the back, on the last 2 pages of the book, we have the Q&A.
So was this an email that you and Rick could both log in and look at?
I mean, Sebastian was the editor. Sebastian Gerner was the guy who was in charge of that. And then,
so we could,
you know,
so we got another job for you, Jamie.
yeah, Jamie could do that.
Yeah, he could.
Or we can all have the password and comments, so we can all have
that's what I'm
access
saying.
to it.
Yeah.
And
Actually, I just hired Zoe as my assistant on Sundays, so that could be a job I could give her.
there you go. Is she still dumb, or she got better?
Well, she
over the
comes
past
from
year?
me, so she's absolutely retarded.
I'm sorry, Zoe. Call back to 1 year ago, the New York recap episode. Yeah, she could do it. I don't think it's gonna be a huge amount of work, to be honest with you. We could try.
Yeah. I mean, it's something she could do as part of her Sunday responsibilities when she comes to the studio.
Yeah,
sure. But here's where do we tell people who our guests that are coming up are going to be?
Well, it's at the end of the episode when we remind everyone.
Oh.
We can have a brief thing that we repeat at the end of the episode when we remind people, hey, if you have any questions, bro.
Okay, but
so next,
I see a problem. Problem there. Okay, let's say we're recording this episode. And we're like, our next guest is Jesse Hernandez.
No,
email your question.
I told you, and this is where you're dumb. I told you earlier, we have to tell them way in advance.
Right, but the problem is, I don't know if we're scheduled out. We'd have to schedule out further in advance, I guess, is what we have to do.
Yeah, once we know that we have a specific guest, in 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a good enough time. So whenever we end up scheduling that episode.
4 weeks is,
Okay. 4 or 5 weeks.
And actually, Jamie, you should let us know what works best because you're experienced in this area.
Yeah, that's in the end. That's probably
the best way to go.
Probably,
I have a feeling,
Jamie, as he hears this thing, is like, "This two fucking dum-dums. They don't know anything about how the word
idiots."
Works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's this thing, and it's just a button, and everything works, and it's exactly what we wanted to obtain just in one click. Yeah.
Speaking of which,
we can use pigeons. We can buy a bunch of pigeons, the Inkpulp pigeons. Yeah, we can we can create a mark on their back so you can recognize them, and then we send it out in the world. Then people we specifically create a kind of calling for that specific pigeon. He replies to. So the pigeon arrives, you tell him the message, you put it in his fucking leg, and then you send it back. And then
It's perfect. Yeah, Jamie, you're going to hate me, but put pigeons in. I'm guiding the pigeons. All right. Okay. Also, I think we should.
Do you think if we have a guest that is recording on a mobile, if they do that, you can see pigeons on the screen?
maybe that'd be hilarious. We should have Jamie on the show. I think that's a guest we should have. We should get Jamie on the show.
Oh yeah,
because he knows podcasting, he knows social media, and he would have a lot of good stuff to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, it's being a year more or less from his transition from a man to a woman. No, it's from working for a company and being completely independent now.
Right.
So we can do a recap with him and see where he's at.
Yeah,
be nice.
Exactly. All right, let's call it here because I gotta pee before we start recording with Jesse and get ready for that one. So I'm
gonna have a smoke.
Okay, so take us out of here.
The Inkpulp Podcast.